It's time for the Parent Memoirs.
All right. So welcome to another episode of the Parent Memoirs. I'm Laura Mack.
I'm Jessica James.
Okay. So we've got a couple little updates to do, and then we're going to talk about funny things kids say, which I was reminded of this week for two reasons. But we've got some updates on the Gannon Stauch, Letecia Stauch. She finally broke down and realized that defending yourself in a capital murder case when you're clinically something's wrong with you.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to say she's insane because she's not.
No, yeah.
And she doesn't deserve that classification.
Right.
But she finally realized, oh, I might need a lawyer. So the trial that was supposed to start, I believe, in May, didn't start because that lawyer obviously needs some time to review documents and shit. So I think it's September is when they pushed it out to.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I'm not really. I will say that I was shocked when the Derek Chauvin trial started, less than a year after George Floyd's death.
Yeah.
Some of these, especially like with legal maneuvering and crap, like some of these trials take forever just to start.
Right. Yeah.
With Letecia Stauch, I'm not too surprised. And you know, she tried to do the insanity thing. That didn't work. Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah.
Hopefully it still doesn't.
Right.
But there is a bigger update on Lori Vallow Daybell. God, fuck that bitch. Everybody freaked out because I was so excited. I was beyond excited. Y'all should have seen me. I was texting Jessica. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They finally charged Lori Vallow Daybell and her piece of shit demon husband, Chad Daybell, with murder. Like this whole time people have been like, why haven't they been charged with murder? Okay, why is this taking so long? And it was wasn't well before COVID, but it still felt like, why is this taking so long just to charge them? You see other people that are charged within like a few weeks, a few months, especially after they found the bodies.
Right.
Dismembered, burned, the whole nine, buried on Chad's property.
Right.
How do you think they got there? The Tooth Fairy? Like, come on.
The Tooth Fairy, that'd be wicked. Wicked Tooth Fairy. Damn.
It's a demon. Went dark there for a second. My apologies.
It's all right.
Now Jessica's got like an image in her head of like an evil Tooth Fairy.
Okay, so not to sidetrack, but Teen Titans. Oh my God. Liam used to watch that show. And have you ever seen the Tooth Fairy? Teen Titans version of the Tooth Fairy?
No.
Oh my God, that thing is freaking creepy. And the reason it takes the teeth is because it eats them. It eats the teeth. It's like, yeah. So, anyways, that's what I was thinking of. Teen Titans Tooth Fairy.
You know, somebody told me that on HBO there's actually a Titans. So it's like the teens after they grow up. I've been meaning to check it out. I'm pretty sure that's what somebody told me, but
awesome.
I have to take a look at it.
Yes.
But anyway, so I was super excited. Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell were finally charged. Beyond excited. And then the defense whipped out their little gotcha card, I guess.
Yeah.
And they were like, actually, this psychiatrist says she is incompetent to stand trial. Which my dad and I have gotten in this debate a lot over the years. Because my dad is like, my dad's opinion is, you have to be insane to kill your children.
Okay.
And I'm like, I can appreciate that opinion.
Right.
But I think that's an emotional one and not a clinical one.
Yeah, I could see that.
The fact that, like, and we had this discussion surrounding that mom in Texas that drowned all of her kids in the bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was just like, you have to be insane. And he really disagreed with the ruling. And I was like, look, here's the problem. They asked her, why did you call 911? And she said, that's who you call when something bad happens.
So she knew.
And the definition, at least in Texas, for insanity is you don't know the difference between right and wrong. You knew this was bad. You knew this was wrong.
Right.
It made that argument. Now, granted, that woman, I actually read the book about what happened to her. Wow. It was such a failure. That is one of the saddest stories. I know this may sound awful, but she is one of those cases that, unlike this one, where I just think Lori and Chad are just straight, pure evil. That woman, I feel like, was just I feel bad for her because the system and her husband truly failed them and failed her. She had postpartum depression, but they didn't have like severe and as a person who went through that, I can't even imagine. Like, and they kept pumping out kids, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And every time she would get admitted to like a psych ward, they didn't have any sort of group therapy that was geared towards that. So they kept putting her in therapy with like alcoholics and drug addicts. She's not an alcoholic. She's not a drug addict. How is that going to do her any good?
Right. Yeah.
It's just one of those situations where the system failed everybody. Right. And nobody was listening.
Gotcha.
And it sucked. And that was the consequence. These two.
Yeah.
No.
So
there's no excuse. I'm sorry.
Do you think she's woken up yet from all of his bullshit?
No.
No?
No, I do not. Here's the thing. Let me pull up this article because the psychologist has said it, but a judge has to accept it. That's the difference.
Okay.
Like, just because the psychologist says it and the state is pushing back, going, no.
Okay.
Let's take a look here. Although a psychologist has said Lori Vallow Daybell is not competent for trial right now, a judge still needs to legally declare it and a pause in court proceedings could only be temporary. Daybell and husband oh, by the way, this is East Idaho News, Nate Eaton, who we talked about in our Lori Vallow Daybell series on eastidahonews.com. So Daybell and husband Chad Daybell are charged with multiple counts of conspiracy to commit murder and first-degree murder, among other crimes. Oh, and they charged them in the death of Tammy, the wife.
Yes.
Or Chad's first wife.
Right.
Mark Means, Daybell's defense attorney, requested a psychological evaluation for his client in March. A licensed clinical psychologist met with Daybell in Madison County Jail in at least 2 days, and according to the court documents filed last week, determined the, quote, defendant was not competent to proceed. Restorative treatment was recommended. Bonneville, I don't know if it's Bonneville or Boonville or Bonneville. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. County prosecutor Danny Clark, who has nothing to do with the Daybell case, has seen similar situations play out in his 20 years of prosecuting crimes. It's a very well-educated opinion on her competency, but ultimately the determination of competency is a judicial ruling made by a judge. That has not occurred as of yet, Clark tells eastidahonews.com. Competency is a very specific thing. It doesn't mean there isn't a mental illness. It means they don't suffer from certain things. It means simply comprehending or understanding the proceedings against them. In order for Daybell to be competent for trial, Idaho law says she must understand the proceedings against her and be able to assist in her own defense. Daybell will likely be placed in a facility for treatment with the goal of getting her competent. If that happens, court proceedings resume as normal. So, they're not sitting here saying she's crazy to the point where she didn't know what she was doing, and they're not pleading insanity. What they're saying is she's not competent to understand the charges against her and to help in her own defense. So we need to get her evaluated. We need to get her medication. We need to get her brain right so she can understand the charges being levied against her, basically. And as soon as she does, then proceedings can continue.
Gotcha.
My issue is this an act?
Right.
And how long can she keep it up? To stay in lovely little facility.
Right.
I'm sure it's not lovely, but...
Right.
Or maybe it is. Who knows?
Well, yeah, no, you're right. I would like to assume that it's not just because of who she is.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Fingers,
It says there
crossed.
is no insanity defense in Idaho. So you can't claim insanity in Idaho.
Okay.
And it's very, very rare for a case to be paused and never resumed because of competency, according to Clark. He's only seen that happen once in Bonneville County over the past 2 decades. That's a lot of cases and a lot of evaluations. Yeah. A lot of findings of incompetency that later are determined competent. He says, I would imagine that this would be similar to those cases. I've had cases where someone was determined to be incompetent 3 times on the case before it got to a conclusion. It might take some time, but almost always moves forward. A hearing on the matter has been scheduled for June 16th at 9 a.m., and the judge will decide how to proceed. So, going to be keeping an eye on that, because
I'm going to put that in my calendar.
Yeah, I want that bitch to fry. I'm sorry. No, she's an evil, sick, twisted bitch who allegedly, to me, seems to have murdered her way through her life at this point. Her ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband, her new husband's deceased wife, her children, all in the name of religion.
Right.
Thinking she's a god or that she is the savior or whatever. Like, I really wish I knew what, and we talked about this in our series on them. I really wish I knew what the excuse was for Chad as to why the world didn't end.
Right.
Because remember, the world was supposed to end on like July 25th or some bullshit, right?
Right. So it's been almost a year.
Right. Cult leaders tend to push out the goalpost, like, oh, well, we prayed hard enough and we were good enough that God gave us a second chance or what the fuck ever, right? Mm-hmm. That tends to be the excuse. So what was his excuse? I'm just dying to know. Like,
right. Yeah, I agree.
Really want to get there. Anyway, so that's our little update there. So we're going to talk about funny things or inappropriate things that our children have said. Because I don't know if this was inappropriate, but TJ said it to a stranger in the airport this last week.
Okay.
Now you have to remember, TJ is a very well-traveled child.
Yes.
Like, he travels with my in-laws, and we've traveled with him a lot. I remember going on the first family trip I went on with my in-laws when George and I were engaged. His nieces were there, and I was highly impressed at these little girls. I mean, they were like 10 down to like 4. And when we went through customs, they had their passports. They knew exactly what to do. We went through security. They knew, like, they just had it down. Like, they knew. TJ has turned out to be the same way. He's just like, okay, we're getting on a plane. Sweet. No big deal. It's a Tuesday.
Right.
He's always super well behaved in an airport. But apparently, and I know I've said this to him because at one point he asked me something about how likely it would be to die in a plane crash.
Okay.
Like, or something like that. I think we were about to go on a trip. And I threw out this one of those weird little, like, information nuggets that you get in life that you just kind of hang on to. Yeah. And it stays with you forever.
Yeah.
I was like, honey, more people die every year more people are killed every year by donkeys than die in plane crashes.
That's awesome.
Which is a true statistic as far as I know.
Yeah.
And don't trust me. You can look it up. I could be wrong. But it calmed him down.
There you go.
So apparently they were in the airport this week traveling, and this woman was like talking to somebody. You know how they have those like rows of chairs where the chairs are, I don't know what, they're not bleachers, but the chairs are like connected and they sit back to back.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call them.
I don't know.
Apparently TJ overheard somebody sitting in the chairs behind them saying like they were always nervous to fly, and TJ just piped into the conversation and was like, more people are killed every year by donkeys than in plane crashes. You'll be fine. And my mother-in-law was like horrified. Like, you don't just say that to a stranger.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't see anything wrong with it, but
I guess they kind of like nervously giggled and then moved far away. Like, why does this kid know this?
Oh, that's awesome.
They were like, great, the donkey kid.
Right? Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh my God.
And I could totally just like see him just pipe it up and being like, oh, hey, by the way, did you know?
There's no need to be worried. More people are killed by donkeys than by planes. Like, oh my God. I'm sure they were wondering, what does his mother talk to him about? Like, Jesus.
Right?
Oh my God. But it reminded me how, and I went looking for it because it was so funny. I won't say who it was to respect their privacy, but a friend of mine's son, and she was like the first one of my friends to have kids. Mm-hmm. So the funny things like your friends' kids say just hadn't really become a thing in my life. And this was the very first one that I almost pissed myself. This kid is like, because his mother is next level, like, genius.
Yeah.
I call her my idiot savant. Mm-hmm. She's brilliant. Okay. She got a full ride scholarship to Colorado College. Her first semester, she took advanced physics, advanced calculus, Japanese, Russian, and Latin all at the same time, and aced every single one. She is like amazing. Next level brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Cannot tell time on a hand clock. Can't do it. Will break out in hives looking at a hand clock. Just can't.
Wow.
When we used to drive around together and I would say turn left, she would have to do the L with your fingers to be like, which one is left? She can't remember which one her left is. Like, she's one of the, it's my theory about smart being a circle. Mm-hmm. Like, smart is a circle. Eventually it gets all the way back around to stupid. I love her to death. She knows this. I'm not talking behind her back. She knows this. It's been a running joke forever. Like, for years, she thought that jeans weren't flammable. No idea why.
Okay.
She just thought that jeans weren't flammable. One day we were sitting around and she was smoking, and her cherry of her cigarette fell off onto her jeans, and I was like, oh God. And she was like, oh, don't worry, it'll go out. And she wasn't like doing anything to like flick it off or anything. And I was like, what do you mean it'll go out? She was like, well, jeans can't catch on fire. I was like, let's deal with the flammable item burning a hole in your leg right now.
Right.
And then we will discuss that in more detail.
Yeah.
And why you believe that. So I flicked it off her leg and I was like, honey, look. And she was like, oh my God, it like got hot. I was like, right. Because it's about to burn you. Because it's about to burst into flames. What is wrong? Like... Oh my God. So her son is also next level brilliant.
Yes.
Like when he was like 5, he could list off all of the elements on the periodic table. Like he's just like her. He's thinking on like this next level.
Right. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old he was. I think he was about TJ's age now. I think he was about 7. But one day he just announced to his mother, hey, Mom, did you know that dog food lid spelled backwards spells dildo of God?
Hold on. I gotta write this down.
Write it down. I'm telling you. You'll see it. Dog food lid spelled backwards is dildo of God.
Yep. It sure is. Oh my God, that's amazing.
And she was like, so like, why do you know that word? First of all, why do you know? Like he didn't, she finally figured it out through like probing him, like just questioning him, that to him that word was like DIDLO. Oh, it spells dildo. Like he doesn't know what a dildo is.
Right.
But it's
sound.
It's one of those things that, right, it's a sound.
Yeah.
But oh my God, it was this kid. He cracked me up. One day they were in Walmart, him and his mother and father, and they were shopping, and they were in that section that has like the value size, like the extra big packages of whatever in the frozen section. And his father said, "No, I think that one's too big." And he just burst out. He was like 4, and he was like, "That's what she said, Daddy." And he was like, "What? You're 4.
Right?
Why?"
Yep.
My friend was freaking out that like people were going to be like people were going to think they were like teaching him about sex and stuff and inappropriate things. Like she was very concerned.
Right.
So you've got 4 littles.
Yeah.
Have they ever said anything? I'm assuming they have.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, they say inappropriate things all the time. I'm just trying, like, I've been trying to think of any that we haven't already talked about. Like, and the only one that comes to mind is when Olivia called Mike an asshole. Did we ever talk about that one?
No.
No? Okay.
Like when Carly called me a grass pole.
Grass pole. Good old. Oh, Carly. She's so sweet.
That was a great story. I'll tell that story one day on Cues and Cucumber, because that was a great story where she just was like, "You're an asshole," like right in front of a training class, and then she realized what she was doing, and she was like, "I mean grass pole. You're a grass pole, Laura." That's not the whole story, but god damn it, it was fucking funny. Oh God.
So just to go on a Carly tangent for a minute. Do you remember? I think I can't remember what we were all out for. It was somebody's birthday or something. And we were posing for a picture. And I told her to pose like this.
No.
And she didn't know what it meant.
Oh God. No, you didn't. Okay, since we're an audio medium, Jessica just did the 2 and the pink one and the stink thing with her fingers, and Carly didn't know what it meant. Oh, Jesus.
And then everybody was like, "Why are you making that hand signal?" She was like, "Jessica taught me to." And I was like, "You don't know what it means." And then I told her, and she was like mortified. I was like, 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" Because, back then Carly was, quite a bit more naive than,
very innocent.
Yes.
And,
right. And so then,
I mean, what was she, like 26 at the time?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
and
something
she'd been
like
with
that.
the same guy since high school. Like, it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I had to
Oh
explain it
God.
even further. She's, "Oh my God." It was hilarious. So anyway.
Okay, so to go off on one more tangent
Okay.
here. So Tanya and I recorded a couple episodes before she left on vacation. And we were talking about this bitch, Rachel Hollis, who said something very insulting about service workers. And I was talking about my mom when we were talking about it on the show. And I was like, "Let me tell y'all about my mom." And Tanya immediately went off. She was like, "I love Miss May. She's adorable. She's so much fun, blah, blah, blah."
Yes.
And I said, "She's probably listening to this right now because she has fucked her back." Like,
Aww.
between her and I actually had to go down there yesterday.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing. Because my dad is also not doing well. They're just in so much pain right now. But anyway, I was like, "Yeah, she totally fucked up her back." And Tanya goes, "Miss May's getting all freaky." She's like, "What'd she do to her back?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's," and I said it, and as I was saying it, I knew it was inappropriate, but I was like, "Yeah, it's all that tantric sex." I was like, that's a fucked up thing to say about my mom, number one, and number two, when she listens to this, she's gonna kill me that I said that out loud. And I'm 41 and I did that.
Right.
I embarrassed my
That's awesome. I'm proud of you.
So apparently it just never stops. Exactly.
Right.
Anyway, you were saying that she called him an asshole?
Yes. Yes. So it was a couple Christmases ago when Mike had gotten the air hockey table from his parents for Christmas. And the kids, they love playing on it. But of course, it's like constant fighting. Like they fight because somebody's playing too rough or somebody's, using their hands or whatever stupid shit they want to bitch about. And so Amelia and Olivia were just begging and begging and begging to use the damn air hockey table. And we were sitting upstairs in my room because Mike was getting ready to get in the shower. And we were sitting there telling Olivia, we're like, no, you're not using it because you fight. And she was like, well, why can't I use it? And Mike was like, well, it's mine. I got it for Christmas. It was my gift. So I say you can't use it because you guys fight. Dad, you're an ASS hole.
Wow, she spelled it too.
She spelled it. Yes. And oh my God.
That's amazing.
I have never seen her run so fast in our entire life because it was like before she finished even saying whole, it was like she knew what she did and she just turned around and she booked it. And I'm sitting there on my bed with my face covered because I'm just like laughing my ass off because not only did she call him an asshole, but she spelled ass like that was going to help her not get in trouble for it. And then I just look at him and he just
like,
shakes
why
his head.
are you smacking my ass, Dad? I spelled ass. I didn't well.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. She spelled it and everything. That's actually, for some reason, it does make it more charming.
Right.
And cute. I'm sure it didn't feel that way at the time.
Right. So when that happened, she had just turned 6 when that happened. And now it's like every time she thinks she gets a chance to use some kind of bad language or bad word or whatever, she totally does. If somebody starts to make a sound like they're going to use a bad word, she'll be like, Mom, so-and-so said fuck. And they're like, no, I was saying fun.
You're like, calm down. I remember way before I had kids, I was in my early 20s. I think I was like 21, 22, and I got invited to a family barbecue of a coworker. They were having like this big family like reunion thing, and her and I were friends. And she was like, "Hey, why don't you come? You're not doing anything, blah, blah, blah." I was like, okay. So we're sitting there, and it's the whole family is at all these like kind of gathered up picnic tables, and out of nowhere, the grandfather of her kids, so her father-in-law, was sitting there, and he was telling a funny story, and we were all kind of engrossed in his story, and he said like damn or something, right? And her like 5-year-old goes, "Oh, Grandpa, you said a bad word." And my friend, and everybody kind of went a little bit silent, right? And my friend was like, "Honey, that's a grown-up word, and Grandpa is a grown-up. Like, you don't say that word. It's not a bad word. It's a grown-up word."
Right? Yeah.
And everybody was kind of silent while she was having this exchange. And her son was like coloring on something, like while we were waiting for the food to get ready. He had like a coloring book, and he just was like coloring, and he had stopped to scold his own grandfather. And then he was like, and she explained it, and he goes, "Oh." And then he goes back to coloring, but just in that instant, before we could all resume the conversation, he, like, while he's coloring, he kind of looks up, and he's still coloring, just as innocent as can be, and said, "Yeah, I'm not allowed to say words like fuck and shit." Yeah. And he goes back to coloring. And there's this, now it's dead silent. You can hear a pin drop. And I'm the only non-family member there, and I, of course, had to be the one to burst out laughing first.
Yep.
Now, everybody followed me, but it would have been awful if I was the only one laughing, and they took it, like, super seriously. I would have felt like an asshole. But I was like, oh no. Oh my God.
Right.
It was right. Oh my God. So TJ's out of school, but the week before school got out, all the kids came. I went to go pick him up, and all the kids came flooding out, and all of them had all like arms full of art projects that have been sitting in the classroom forever.
Yeah.
And the wind was blowing, and it started blowing papers from some of the kids all over the place. And TJ, I could not have made himself more the center of attention. Because there are these like they're brick walls, but they kind of like come down like humps, like hills from the building, right?
Okay.
TJ jumps up on the edge of one, and he's standing up. Now he's taller than everybody, all the parents, everybody, and yells out, there's papers flying everywhere, and he just yells out, Jesus Christ! I was like, oh, God. I snatched him up so fast. All the other parents were staring at me, and I was just like, oh, God, sorry. I was like, TJ, don't say that. What would you do? Oh, my God, I was so mad. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God, I'm going to kill this child. Why?
You got to keep life entertaining. Yeah, I'm trying
course.
to think. But I do have one I could share about myself.
Okay.
From when I was a kid.
Okay.
So,
that's a good. I didn't even think about that.
So,
Uh-oh.
It was Thanksgiving one year, and I was up in Northern California with my mom and her family, and her family was like a little more on the strict and proper side, I guess you could call it. And we're sitting down, getting ready to have Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody had already gotten all of their food. Everybody's getting ready to start to eat, so it's all nice and silent. So I'm sitting there playing with the stuff.
Of course it is.
Right. Well, yeah, it's got to be nice and silent, right? So I'm sitting there messing with my food or whatever, and just out of nowhere, I look up, I see everybody's just doing their own thing, and I'm like, cocksucker!
Oh, God.
Oh, hold on just a second. So, anyways, I was probably like, I think I was probably like around 9 or 10 years old. No idea what possessed me to scream cocksucker in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner. No idea. But that's what I did.
God.
And I just remember, like, my mom giving me this look like, what the fuck are you doing? And everybody else was just staring at me like... Right? Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you this one. This was not me as a child, and this wasn't something a child said that was funny. It was me, a little drunk.
Okay.
And I regret it.
Okay.
My sister-in-law was very annoyed with me. She was like, why did you do that?
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. So, on the first family trip, which I mentioned earlier that I went on with George and his family, because every few years, my mother-in-law pays for a big family trip where we all go.
Yes.
And the first year that I went, we went to Mexico. We went to Cancun. And, you know, it's an all-inclusive resort. So the drinks are flowing. Like, okay, fine. But every night we would have dinner with my soon-to-be in-laws, my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and their 4 little girls. But it was just me and George. We weren't,
right.
You know, we didn't have kids. We weren't even married yet.
Yeah.
And we were sitting around and we were having dinner. And soon-to-be Auntie Lala had a couple of drinks. And I was sitting at the end of the table, and the girls were sitting across from me. Mm-hmm. And one of them was like, it wasn't the oldest, it was the second to oldest. And she was doing that thing that trying to talk to an adult like an adult.
Yes.
Like, and she's talking to me, and they're all the sweetest. I love those girls to death. But she was saying something about hair color. I can't even remember why we got on this conversation. And she was like, so when my daddy was little, he had blonde hair, but now he has brown hair. And all the girls were blonde at the time. And they were like, so someday maybe our hair will go brown too. And I said, yeah, my dad was the same way. All my dad's baby pictures, blonde, blonde, blonde.
Yes.
Right? And I was like, I said, yeah, my dad was the same way. I said, so maybe one day you'll join the brunette club with me. And they were like, and the second oldest was like, what's brunette? And I didn't think about like, oh, I said, that just means you have brown hair, right? Well, the oldest, who's been listening to this whole conversation, she's oh my God, she's such a perceptive little girl, and she's just kind of giving me this look, like her eyes are squinty, like, I don't know if I believe you. And then she just looks at me and she goes, are you really in a club? Like, because I said the brunette club. And this made her believe that all brunettes are part of some magical club that she wants to be in. But she said it, and Auntie Lala had just a few too many drinks, and I was like, yep, we get membership cards and have monthly meetings. And I didn't think anything really about it until a month later when my sister-in-law calls me, and she's like, why the fuck did you tell my girls you were in a club for people with, they want to be in the club. They want to know where the club is. They want to know when they could get their membership cards. If they color their hair, could they be part of the club? What does the club do? Do they do fun stuff? Do they go to amusement parks?
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, man.
For like a month, they bugged her. She was like, I'm going to murder you. I'm like, I'm sorry. Put them on the phone. I will tell them that Auntie Lala had one too many, margaritas while we were in Mexico. And I'm very, very sorry.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just remember her. Are you really in a club? With this little poochy mouth, like, I don't believe you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now that girl's in college. It kills me.
Is she really?
Me. She's going to be a junior this year.
In college?
Yeah.
Wow.
George and I have been together for 15 years.
Wow.
I know. Since 2006. I know. Doesn't it?
That means Mike and I have been together for 17 years.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, since we met. When we met in 2004. So we've known each other for 17 years. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's bananas. I'm just like, okay, yeah, the next to last one. So they've got 4 girls. Mm-hmm. They've still got one in high school. Mm-hmm. But the 3 oldest are the one just graduated high school this month or last month.
Yeah.
And she's going into college too. They're all in the same college. They're all in the same campus. And
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so they've got a junior, a sophomore, and now a freshman, all at college.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild to me.
Absolutely.
They were so little, and now it's, oh God. It kills me. It really does. It hurts.
I understand. They're just...
like, we're getting old. I'm just going to be in denial about it. Okay. So I did find this article about funny things. I found a couple articles about funny things kids say, and I picked some of my favorites. I thought this was funny. I went in to see a mortgage advisor with my 7-year-old son. As I sat at the desk, my son sat down and said to the man, "Hello, I'm not her husband."
Nice.
Oh, my 5-year-old says, "Can I have a Twix?" This isn't inappropriate, it's just cute. My 5-year-old said, "Can I have a Twic?" And I said, "You mean Twix?" And my 5-year-old said, "No, I only want one." Pretty astute for a 5-year-old, I gotta say.
Yeah.
My son walks up to me with his hands dangling under his chin, fingers wiggling around. My son says, "Mom, like my beard of testicles?"
Beard of testicles.
And I say, "What? Beard of what?" And my son says, "Beard of testicles. I'm an octopus." And I say, "Tentacles,
tentacles.
Kiddo. They're called tentacles." And the son says, "Yeah, that's what I meant." That's not what she said.
Right? Oh, that's hilarious.
I dropped my son off at preschool and he says, "Have a good weekend, Mommy," as he leaves from the car. Clearly, he has plans that do not include me. God. Oh, this one I thought was kind of mean. My 3-year-old son saw Nick Jonas, one of the Jonas brothers, singing on TV and said, "He doesn't have any friends, does he?"
Aww.
Sad. Oh, God. Me, why is the dog's head all wet? My 3-year-old standing outside on the patio. Oh, because I peed on him.
Can I interrupt real quick on that note?
Sure.
So, last night, I was getting the kids all tucked into bed, and I'm in Liam's room, and I'm getting ready to sit down and read to him, and I'm stepping on the floor, and I'm like, why is your floor wet? And I'm just, like, feeling around, and, like, it's just, like, kind of, like, splotchy in places. And I was like, is that from you taking a shower? Because he had just gotten done taking a bath. And he was like, no. And I was like, so why is your carpet wet? Oh, I peed on it. Excuse me?
Why?
Why? I had to go. Your room is right next to the bathroom, and you just got done taking a bath. You couldn't pee while you were in there? It's like, well, you told me to get dressed. So you just pee on your floor. I'm sorry, Mom, but I had to go. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
We actually caught TJ at one point. Like, I remember reading this article about a long time ago about this. I think it was an anthropologist that wanted to do this experiment. He had a new baby in the house, and they brought in like a baby, like he got this baby gorilla or orangutan or some sort of monkey. Okay. I know. Please forgive me. Gorillas are, yeah, whatever. Anyway. So the experiment was to see if you raised the primate, we'll just say that,
Okay.
alongside the child, would it take on the behaviors of the child?
Okay.
Unfortunately, he accidentally fucked up his kid when the kid started to behave like the primate instead.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I remember reading this article and being like, wow, that's interesting.
Right?
Okay. And then when we got Pete after Bender died, TJ started peeing and pooping in the yard. Like, we would catch him.
Yep.
In the yard. We were like, what are you doing? And he's like, going to the bathroom. I'm like, use the toilet. He's like, the dog doesn't. I'm like, look, you are not a dog.
Right?
And then he tried to get sneaky about it. Because we were in, for those of you who don't know, our house is a split level. The bottom level isn't quite a basement. It's what's called a garden level. So your windows like are eye line with the ground.
Yeah.
And then we have our upstairs. Well, we had been in George's office, which is downstairs, and looking out the window, which is at eye level with the ground, and we saw what TJ was doing, that he was peeing and pooping in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
So TJ thought he would get smart and pee off the deck.
Oh,
so
no.
that he was upstairs to where he couldn't see him. But we're like watching going, what is that? Like, we can still see it. We just can't see the source. But we're pretty sure that George and I aren't the ones peeing off the deck. And Pete would have to be very talented to do so. So, let's just not.
Yep. Yeah.
I would do stuff like, my mom has a video of him like trying to lick water off of the deck because Pete was, I was like, oh my God, we got to figure this out quickly.
Right? Yeah. I seem to remember a story like that with Mike, with him pooping in the yard and blaming it on the dog. And the funny part of that story was they didn't have a dog.
Well, when you first said that, I was like, well, how do you know it wasn't the dog? Like, oh, they didn't have one.
Yeah, they didn't have a dog. I think that was about Mike. I hope I'm getting that right. I remember hearing that story, though. I think it was about Mike. But yeah. Yeah, so like in our old house, before we moved, we had a bunch of big trees in our yard. I mean, you know, you've been there and you can't really see, like, there's neighbors behind us, but the trees block it a lot. And like when the kids would be outside playing in the sprinklers and stuff, you know, if Liam had to pee, he would just pee on the big tree because it totally covered him from anybody being able to see him. And he called it his pee tree. It was his friend. He'd always go pee on the tree. But then we moved and we have no trees here. And so he would just go outside to pee, and I'm like, you can't do that anymore. You don't have a pee tree here. There's nothing blocking you from our neighbors. And it took a while for us to get him out of the habit of just walking outside and just peeing in the yard with no trees around.
I've always, like, I don't know, the thing about guys just being able to pee anywhere, I'm like, well, I guess if you can.
Right?
Like,
I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't if it was that easy and I didn't have to worry about, you know, peeing on my feet all the time or some nasty stuff. Yeah. You can aim it more effectively. Right.
I guess.
I mean, I guess if I could try to... if I could try to write my name in the snow, I probably would.
There you go. Speaking of have to pee, I have to pee. So, let's go ahead and wrap this one up.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. I think the name of this episode is going to be The Pea Tree.
Sounds good. Liam will be honored.
All right. So keep sending those stories to theparentmemoirs@yahoo.com. So until next time, I'm Laura Mack.
I'm Jessica James.
Love your faces.
Keep it sane.
Hey, Parent Peeps. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or on your favorite podcasting platform. Stay strong, mommies and daddies. Love your faces.